The blues and rhythm changes are really important song forms in jazz, and lots of jazz standards use those chord progressions. And while the chord changes for each of those remains mostly the same, the real thing that differentiates them from each other is the melody. So it's important for us to know some blues and rhythm changes heads. That's what this video is all about, going through some important ones that you should know. Coming right up. What's up, Brent here from LearnJazzStandards.com, which is a blog, a podcast, and videos all geared towards helping you become a better jazz musician. Thanks for hanging out with me today, really appreciate it. And by the way, if you've never subscribed to this channel, make sure you do that down below to get locked in with everything we have going on here. So this video really today is about me getting you started, get some ideas for some jazz blues heads and rhythm changes heads that you should know and you can learn so you have them ready to play at jam sessions or gigs. But really what I want you to do is leave a bunch of them down in the comments below so that we can just have a huge, massive list. Now, unfortunately, I won't be playing any of these melodies today because of copyright issues and such, but I will leave in the description below a link that goes out to a list of rhythm changes and blues that includes the one that I have today. And if you click into those, you will find recordings of all of the blues and rhythm changes heads that I'm talking about today. So let's get started. Let's start with the blues. The first blues I want to talk about is Billy's Bounce by Charlie Parker, which is a great bebop head for blues that you can learn. It's commonly called in jam sessions and gigs, so I highly recommend learning that one. And then number 2 is Tenor Madness, which is by Sonny Rollins. There's an awesome record with Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane where they play together and duel out some solos. It's really awesome. Highly suggest listening to that recording and definitely suggest learning that head as well. Number 3 is Bags Groove by Milt Jackson, vibraphonist, and his nickname was Bags, hence Bags Groove. Really great tune to learn, pretty easy, and a great head to call. Now number 4 is a blues that's a little bit different. This one is All Blues by Miles Davis. This is off that popular record, Kind of Blue. Of course, you have to listen to that record, and this is a really great blues to learn. Some slightly different changes in here than a regular 12-bar blues. Definitely one that's going to be called and important to learn. Number 5 is a minor blues, and this one is written by John Coltrane. It's called Mr. PC, and PC, he wrote this for his friend, of course, the iconic bass player Paul Chambers, hence PC. Great introduction to a minor blues, not too hard to learn, great head to know and have under your belt. Now, one that I really like is Sandu by Clifford Brown. Sandu is cool because it's in the key of E flat, which is not completely common for blues. A lot of times you see them in B flat or G or F. So E flat is kind of a welcoming key for the blues. And so I like that one for that purpose. And it's just a great melody in general. So that's Sandu by Clifford Brown. Now, taking things into the straight eighth realm is Herbie Hancock's Watermelon Man. This is a great blues tune that doesn't have a swing factor in it, so it's kind of a different thing to add to your bag of tools here. And one thing that makes it different is that it's a 16-bar blues rather than the traditional 12-bar blues. So that's Watermelon Man. So the last blues I want to cover, I do think is important when it comes to jazz, and that is a bird blues, or a Charlie Parker blues as some people call it. And this one is of course written by Charlie Parker, and it's really his take on the changes for the blues, and he goes outside of the regular changes and adds more harmony, more chord changes. This one's called Blues for Alice. So if you want to get introduced to bird blues, check out this one for sure. All right, let's move on to rhythm changes and start going over 8 of those that are worth learning. So number 1 is the starting place where rhythm changes really originated from, and that's I Got Rhythm by George Gershwin. This is where everybody got rhythm changes from. This is where it became a popular song form, and really everything after that is all about contrafacts. By the way, contrafacts, I'll link that up above if you don't know what that is. So let's move on to number 2, which of course is a contrafact of I Got Rhythm, and this one was written by Lester Young. It's called Lester Leaps In. It was written for Count Basie's Kansas City 7. So really super easy melody, very repetitive, so it's great for beginners to get some beginning heads in with Lester Leaps In. The next one is a little bit more quirky, but it's a great one to know, and it's Rhythm-a-ning by Thelonious Monk. Of course, it's his take on rhythm changes, and Monk is obviously a prolific composer in the jazz arena, so you definitely should learn this one for sure. Now this one, here's the classic, like everybody knows this one, everybody calls this one, and this is Oleo, and it's by Sonny Rollins. So as far as just knowing a rhythm changes head, if you should learn one off this list, list, I would say Oleo is probably the most prominent one that I typically hear come up at jam sessions or gigs. So Oleo is a great one to learn by Sonny Rollins. And then we're going to end this list on a series of Charlie Parker rhythm changes tunes, because Charlie Parker was really the king at taking rhythm changes and just adding his own melodies, his own contrafacts on top of them, and he made a lot of them. So let's go through some right now. The first one is Moose the Mooche. Really great melody. It's like learning a solo. In fact, all the ones I'm about to mention are pretty much like you're learning a solo. So that's another great reason to learn some of these Charlie Parker rhythm changes. The next one is Anthropology, which is a personal favorite of mine. It's one that I used to always call. I still do call that one whenever I'm at a gig. It's just a great head to know. Again, sort of like a solo when you're playing it. So it's almost like you're transcribing a solo as well as learning ahead at the same time. Dexterity is number 7. That's another really popular bebop rhythm changes head by Charlie Parker. And the very last one, it's a little bit more of Charlie Parker's repetitive rhythm changes heads, and this one is called Steeplechase. Steeplechase is a good one if you're trying to get a Charlie Parker head in there that doesn't have a lot of angular bebop lines included in it. All right, so that's my list of blues and rhythm changes heads to get you started. What I want you to see is just a bunch of those listed in the comments below. Let's have a huge list, and like I said in the description below, I have some of the ones that I talked about today that you can look into them, listen to actual recordings at a link on my website. And hey, if in general you're looking to learn jazz standards the right way so that you know them well, so that you don't forget them, so that you don't get lost in the form, and in general just have a better experience with understanding how to improvise over them, I highly suggest my free guide called Learn Jazz Standards the Smart Way. You can get that at learnjazzstandards.thesmartway.com. I'll leave that in the description below as well. All right, so leave me those comments, guys. Leave me all of those blues heads and rhythm changes heads that you suggest for everybody else to learn, and I'll make sure to see you in the next video.